Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Survivor 48 episode 12 reaction and review. What is this? Is this a miracle? Are we in a fever dream? Did something actually happen on an episode of Survivor? Am I alive?
I know. Look at Team Guyana coming together. Kyle, wow, what a game-winning move. I'm really excited about this. He was waiting for the right time, the right time. I was like, is he waiting for the right time? He's on this fence of his own making. He's got this alliance that he's loyal to. He's got Camilla, who's his number one. When is he going to get off this fence and choose a side? And here comes Shaheen finally, where Kyle's like, cool, he can take all the blood on this one and I'll make my move. Man, what a great move, Kyle.
It was a really good move. It's a really exciting move. There's a lot of different scenarios and ideas to talk through, like whether or not this was the right move. I flip-flopped on this like 30 times already in the brief amount of time since watching this episode. I think more than anything else, I like being proven wrong. I think all of us as a society can sit here, take a deep breath, and be like, I was wrong to sit here and think that every single boot from the merge until the end was going to be straightforward. I was so cynical going into this episode thinking like, all right, it's time to watch Mitch get voted out. We're going to have this. It's just going to keep on going. And this doesn't make up for the fact that these past several weeks have all been excruciatingly boring, but it's still nice that something happened before the finale.
Yeah, I'm very happy. This has been, since the merge, this has really been a snooze where every week it feels like we know who's going and then they go and on and repeat and rinse and repeat. And here, finally, something is happening. Like, as Shaheen was kind of moving through this and he was feeling more and more confident where he's like, oh yeah, I could sit at the end and beat Joe. I was like, oh my goodness, this just feels like then we're never going to have a move, because if it's not Shaheen and Kyle's on a fence of his own making, then it's just going to be Mitch this week.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this move, all the different parameters that are going on with it. We're going to talk a little bit more about, my guy Jeff. Rest assured, the return of the Jeff segment is back within this episode. But before we go forward, be sure to hit that subscribe button because, yeah, I know Survivor 48 is coming close to its conclusion, but we have so much more coverage here at the channel, including Big Brother. We're going to be kind of gearing up here for the new season very, very soon. There's a lot happening there. And we're also covering right now The Handmaid's Tale, The Last of Us, and then also Poker Face. Some really, really great stuff.
Absolutely. And by hitting that subscribe button, you really help us here at the channel, and we truly appreciate it. And over on our Patreon, we are covering Criminal Minds Evolution. The new season has started, and Murderbot over on Apple TV, which is a really fun show. And over on our Patreon, it's a great way to support us, but it's the only place that you can get those video reviews. So thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We really, really appreciate that.
Let's talk about Kyle, Team Guyana, and everything that they are doing. So we have this reward, and we have Kyle talking to Shaheen, and Shaheen finally tells him what he's been waiting to hear, which is, I think it's time to make a move on Joe and Eva, and we should get Eva out. And I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And Kyle, too, was like, oh, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. It was which one of us was going to break first, because whoever breaks first is the person who's going to get blood on their hands, and the other person is going to be able to use that. And that is exactly what Kyle did. He went to Camilla. He said, this is what has happened, and here is my plan. And it was such a good plan where it was like, okay, we're going to set up that Shaheen is actually going to flip on Eva and flip on everyone. We're going to say that he has an idol. You're going to corroborate this story. We're going to get Joe to buy it. And then I'm going to be able to go at the end up against Joe or whoever and say that I got Joe to eat one of his own. I was like, it really is a good resume move, and that you will be able to say that. And right now, I think Kyle is the only person that can beat Joe.
I think at times, and this is the key word here, at times, I think a lot of the talk about resumes on Survivor can be overblown, but this is not
matter though.
This is not one of those times. Like, this is a time in which you need something that you can say at the final tribal council that Joe is not necessarily going to see coming. Like, is you have to find a way to rattle somebody who is otherwise dominant, and then also change the hearts and minds of everybody who is sitting over there on the jury, because depending on how much time the next boots have at Ponderosa or anything else, or if they're even going to allow them to have conversations before the final tribal council, it's possible that Shaheen may go to that final tribal council not even understanding fully why it is that he was voted out, and then that can really surprise him. And it seems like, based on the way in which he exited, he's not going to be a bitter juror. He's going to be somebody who plays the best game. And if he genuinely, okay, Shaheen, I like you, but your whole "you guys got rid of the best player" bit as you're leaving the game, you stay delusional, Shaheen. You were not the best player, but that means to me you're going to vote for the person who you feel like is responsible for your own demise, because you are so high on yourself as a part of this season.
Absolutely. He is high on his own sauce. He thinks he's like, I might be delusional. Yeah, you are. You're not a bad player by any
No.
means, but are you the best player right now in the game? No. That person to me is Kyle. Like, Joe is playing a really great game too. He's won 4 immunities now. He's got a great alliance. He is the camp daddy. Everybody loves him. He's got such an emotional story. And if the jury is voting for emotional story of who they think deserves it based on who they like the best, Joe is going to win. He's a deserved winner. He really is. If he wins this, I'm not going to be mad about it at all.
Yeah.
However, if it's Kyle up there who's like, yeah, I did this, I was with this alliance, but I also had the secret alliance, and me and Camilla were doing this, and I came up with this move that made Camp Daddy Joe eat one of his own. Like, that's such a huge move. And I feel like the game players over there will then maybe give it to Kyle. And I mean, David's so mad at Joe. He's not going to vote for Joe. Very unlikely that might work in Kyle's favor.
Okay, here is where, Survivor editors, we have not been kind to you for a lot of this season, but I'm about to turn into the local florist. I'm going to be the flower peddler in this video, and I'm going to start handing some flowers out to the editors for a few different reasons here, starting with the fact that they really did, I think, a good job of sort of framing why this plan worked from start to finish, beginning with the fact that the editors have shown us here and there that Shaheen and Camilla are close, or that Shaheen believes that he and Camilla are really, really close. And if he has that perception, people like Joe probably also have that perception,
Yep.
which is why it was easy to sell this idea that Shaheen showed this idol to Camilla. And then beyond all that, they had also put in this past several episodes of this season already suspicion about Shaheen when it comes to whether or not he has an idol. And also, they did a great job of referencing in here Shaheen looking through Kyle's bag and Kyle holding on to that as a reason why he could not trust him. I finally am sitting here and being like, editors, you played this whole story out throughout most of the season. You did a really good job.
Yeah, a really good job. And I'm glad that they showed us Joe going to each person and getting the information that he needed. And, Joe is a smart guy. So him being like, okay, one or two people are playing me. It's either going to be Shaheen or it's going to be Kyle. Like, who am I actually going to believe in this? I'm going to go and get as much information as I can, which, I respect. I'm like that as well. I want to get as much information as I can, and then try to, like you said, go with your gut at that point. Who do you feel that you can trust the most? And I had kind of thought he was going to just stick with Shaheen, because it was like, oh yeah, we're the 4, but really the inner core is the 3, and that we'll figure it out together, right? But I think what Shaheen didn't bank on is that Kyle also made really emotional, deep connections with Joe. Joe has made these very deep connections with everybody. That's why I'm calling him the camp daddy.
Yeah.
He really is the person that everybody comes to, everybody feels safe with. He feels safe with people, and everybody can be really emotional with him and share with him. And the relationship that Kyle has built with him, it's real.
Here's where I'm going to give the editors. I'm in such a good mood. I think it may just be because we had
Clap for the editors.
we're actually doing it. I'm going to give you guys more flowers here for sort of presenting that Eva seemed to be more fully snowed in on this plan to go ahead and go with what Kyle was saying than Joe did. And that kind of tells me, okay, Joe is probably the better player of them, of Joe and Eva, by a pretty wide margin. I appreciate the fact that he wasn't just like fully zombified by what Kyle was saying. Like he did check for information. And I'm still going to wear a tinfoil hat here as I say this. Was he still very suspicious at the time he made this vote? Because I'm just sort of thinking this through. It's like, okay, we have 6 people left at this point. Mitch and Camilla, they're getting rid of Shaheen. Eva really feels like, okay, what Kyle is saying is probably right. She wants to get rid of Shaheen. So it's like, okay, Joe, if you don't want to go along with this plan, if you don't trust Kyle, then you're basically one, you're parting ways with Eva, who seems to be fully on board with it, then that's a problem. Then you're also maybe forcing a tie, and I know you're immune, but Eva, she didn't play her idol, so there's all sorts of chaos that could have transpired there. So you were basically put in a position here, like we don't know how much you fully believed it or not at the end of the day, but you clearly were felt because of how good Kyle sold this to Eva and all your cross checks that you might not have had any other choice.
Yeah, I feel like if Joe had gone to people in a different order, he may have not done what he's done. Like, he got the information from Kyle. If he went to Eva and they were talking it out, which they were, where she was kind of like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, like maybe we need a little more information. If he had, instead of going to Camilla, who was like, oh yeah, I saw that idol, and went to Shaheen instead to try to ask, hey, do you think there's anything else in play? Whatever. He might have believed Shaheen first, but because he went to Camilla first, he was like, oh yeah, I saw it. He opened his bag. There it was. There's the beads. That's what he showed me.
Yeah.
It felt like at that point, he almost just felt like he had the idol. So if he goes to Shaheen and Shaheen says no, then he's a liar, that it's already just the way it is. Because Shaheen felt like he was being very honest because he was,
Yeah.
where it was kind of like, do you think there's anything else in play? No, I don't. Like that is the truth. But he had already gone to all the other people that were feeding him the lies that it was just too late. I think it just got stuck in his head.
Okay, now here is where, and everybody knows Joe's my guy. I've been rooting for Joe from day one, but here's where Joe did do something not great in this episode. His conversation with Shaheen, I'm going to do an impression of Joe through a lot of it. He's just like the most worst body language I have ever seen in my entire life. Like Shaheen was very much spooked by the whole thing. He didn't understand why, but Joe basically put himself in a position in that conversation where he kind of did have to get rid of Shaheen after that, because Shaheen obviously didn't walk away from that feeling altogether great, which was only going to incentivize him further to try to get rid of Joe a little bit later on down the line if the opportunity presents itself.
Now, the thing that I was the most surprised by was Shaheen's sort of lack of moves. And I don't know if it was because the editors only had so much time and they wanted to show Kyle's plan coming together the way that it did. But, he did bring this idea up about Eva at first. And then he was kind of like, yeah, but having her on the jury, she's just going to be a vote for Joe. So maybe that's not the way to go. But after that whole conversation with Joe, he should have also been really spooked. And he was. He started talking trash about Joe and was just like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I feel really terrible about this. Something's not right. And the minute that he's kind of like, something's not right, he needs to not really be talking about Joe. He needs to be feeling worried and scramble to make sure somebody else is the vote. That it's not just Mitch at that point. Like, it felt like it wasn't going to go Shaheen's way at that point. And I would have liked to have seen him really secure his spot.
Yeah, and I don't know why we didn't see more of it in that scramble period. I mean, it's always possible, I understand, that he might have tried something, but at the end of the day, here's the thing I really want to talk through here, and that is, what plan was actually the better plan? Because I'll take you all on my emotional journey through a lot of this. So at first, I actually thought that Shaheen had the better idea of, okay, let's get rid of Eva, because you're getting rid of an idol and you're splitting up Joe and Eva, the strongest duo in the game. And beyond all of that, like, here's what I would be actively thinking a lot about is that Joe has won 4 immunities at this point. I mean, Probst, could you not say it more how many immunities that Joe has won? Jeff is fully down the hole with Joe winning immunity challenges at this point. But that's not even my Jeff beef. But anyway, we are in this spot now where at the final 5, if Joe wins immunity and then Eva just automatically plays her idol at that point,
Mhm.
because why not? Then you kind of are stuck. You don't really have a lot of options at that point, and it would be nice to just get rid of Eva before you find yourself in that situation. So I was just viewing it very much like, okay, Shaheen, you're really onto something here. Why not go ahead and put you in that situation? Especially because, yeah, Eva is going to be a huge support system for Joe on the jury, but I
Yeah.
think other than David, stand up David, you're no longer sitcom David, you are now stand up David. Other than him, like, I think a lot of these people would potentially vote for Joe anyway. Like, they don't need Eva's influence to do that.
Yeah, it's true. They don't. But at the same time, it would be nice to not have her vote on there at all, especially if it is someone like Kyle, right? Because
Yeah.
Kyle does have a pretty solid resume at this point. And, Joe can be like, oh, I did this and won all these immunities, et cetera, et cetera. But the gamer part of it, he's been sitting pretty for a lot of this. He's been sailing through it.
Yeah.
It's not bad gameplay by any means. Don't come for me in the comments. But Kyle has really had to be more scrappy and strategic, and there might be more people on the jury that he might be able to sway, but he's never going to be able to sway Eva. No one is going to be able to sway her. So having her on the jury, it's not necessarily the best move, but it's also, if you take out Eva and you're the person that took out Eva, Camp Daddy Joe is going to lose his mind. Like, whoever the person is who did that, it is just going to be a revenge tour for the ages.
That is why I talked myself out of this, and now I'm back in the Kyle has made the better idea here and that this was the right move. Because, yeah, there's no real downside to getting rid of Shaheen. It's not like there's going to be anybody in the final 5 that's just going to be caping for Shaheen with him out the door. And then beyond all of that, this is where I think we have to put on our realism hat here for a moment.
No, I don't know.
There's a really good chance Joe's just going to win the next immunity challenge. Like, I know there was this whole edit of like, oh, you fed Joe, and that's why Joe was going to win that challenge anyway. Like, let's all be serious here.
Yes.
But Joe could win the next challenge. He's a fireman. He's going to win the fire making challenge. You have to assume here the worst case scenario that you're going to be going up against Joe at the end anyway. So this leaves you with a couple of different possibilities. Either number one, you do what Kyle did, which is you do this really brilliant move that Joe is not fully aware that you actually did, that you can snow him on at the final tribal. Or maybe, and this is where it's going to get hard for your beloved Team Guyana, one of them has to cut the other one, and then they have to go to the final 3 with Joe and Eva. And if you do that, maybe the votes split on Joe and Eva a little bit. You can claim more moves in either one of them, and then you can win. Even if you only get like a small handful of the votes, it might be enough in that system.
Well, it also might be a situation where they can still go together, and instead of Kyle being the person that cuts either Eva or Joe, it's Camilla, and that she may not have a problem getting blood on her hands and building up her resume as well. She's been making a lot of moves very quietly. She's part of an alliance that nobody knows about. So, she's played a great game, a really great game, but there is going to have to be something that she's going to be able to claim that people have to believe at this point. And right now, she's in this position that the only person that really knows what she's been doing is Kyle. And Kyle has a game-winning move at this point that Camilla was part of to help him. So if she takes out someone like a Joe, that might be something that she can actually go to the end with.
It's true. And this is where I'll say...
And my team gets to the end.
And then you get your dream of both of them winning.
Yes,
but
please.
I am so impressed by Camilla as a player. Like, she is the Varys of this season for me.
Yeah,
like,
she's
is. Not a part of the dominant alliance. Like, people know that they want to get her out at some point, and yet she continues to persevere week after week while still also keeping this secret. I mean, she's got a really interesting diabolical mind. I really like watching her as somebody who is not athletic and would not do well at the challenges either. She is probably the most relatable person to me left in the game. The problem is just it's exactly what you're saying, whether it's this move or whether it's what happened at the Thomas vote earlier this season with Kyle and the idol and like all that sort of stuff. Like, she's a part of moves, but Kyle does get to front and center claim them because, he is the person going into them with the power position. And this is another nice little editing tidbit that they gave us is that confession from Kyle to Camilla about his true profession, which does make him a bigger threat at the end of the game because he's going to argue his case really, really well.
He absolutely will.
I'm going to put on a tinfoil hat here now.
Yep.
Camilla, you got to be the one to get rid of Kyle.
I
Like, you
know.
have to be
She
the
won't.
I know she won't, but it is just like you really need to. And I like Kyle, but if you want to win the game, you have to do this. And then you can claim all of his moves. You're basically becoming Zachary Quinto from Heroes, where you're like inheriting all of his powers as soon as you take him out of the game.
She needs to take out a big player in this game, and it has to be very obvious to the jury that she's done that. And that way, then she can talk about the strategic moves that she made along the way and kind of be like, yeah, I wasn't part of this power alliance like Kyle, but I was the person that was putting together the plans and getting Kyle to, put forward these plans, but I was the person that was doing it without an alliance. And I was able to get this person out, this person out, this person out, and now Joe.
Okay, we're more than 20 minutes in, so it's time that we remind everyone of a very key, I don't want to say perspective or rule that I have for playing Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
You do not win this reward challenge. This is a terrible reward challenge to win. Here is me at the reward challenge. Survivors, ready. Matt's falling off. He's in the water.
That's right. I'm just straight in the water.
Yeah.
No way.
I don't think Shaheen was voted off because he won this and because he picked people, but it is
No.
It's way too risky at this point because you don't know how people are going to react. And I know this is a shorter season of Survivor. You're not away from your family as long as in the olden days, but it's like
There's only a couple days left.
depriving people of their letters from home, or rather like that moment, that memory that you carry with them. It's like people can get really bent out of shape over that. And it's just, to me, not worth it. Like, if you want to take me, sure, take me. I'll have the moment. I'll eat the food. I'll have a good time. But then nobody's going to be mad at me because I was taken.
Yeah, I would absolutely not win this.
No, it is a huge critical mistake. I understand, though, you're getting caught up in the emotions of doing it. And if you're Shaheen, you haven't really won a lot of challenges. You want to prove yourself. Like, I get all of that. But for somebody who is the so-called best player that is out there, like, you should know that winning any sort of reward at this point in the game, unless it's actually going to immediately help you in an immunity challenge, and I'm not talking about being fed. I'm talking about if the reward was like an advantage in the immunity challenge. Like, that's the only reward you should be winning this late in the game.
Yeah, the fact that he won this, the first person he gave the letters and bed and food to is Joe. And the fact that Kyle's plan came together so wonderfully and that he was able to actually get Joe to turn on Shaheen after Shaheen was like, first guy, Joe, you get your letters, you get fed, you get a bed, you're my guy, my number one guy kind of thing. To have Joe turn like that in like a day was wild. Kyle deserves to win this game.
He does. And I think if we are, I know there are people who study Survivor edits like a million times harder than I do, but just from my perspective, it feels like to me we're being set up here for one of two winners. And I think maybe Camilla can pull it off too, but to me, it really feels like at this point, either Joe is going to win or Kyle is going to win, because I feel like I'm not going to be mad if either one of them end up being the winner, by the way. Like, I think they're
me
both.
Neither. Joe he deserves his win.
Yeah. And even in this episode, I think we've got really good edits from both of them. Like, I'll give a little bit of full disclosure. I've known this story about Joe and his sister for a little while. Like, ever since I declared myself Team Joe at the start of this season, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and scope out his social media and all of that to make sure this is still someone I want to root for. And then I've learned a little bit more about him, and I was like, okay, yeah. And I've been curious for a while if this was going to be brought up on the show or not. And I think it just shows further like the depth of a human being he is and why he's playing this game. And I mean, it makes me want to root for him even more. But then at the same time, it's like, even if Joe doesn't win, I think he has still achieved what he set out to do on this show. Like, he still will have honored his sister. He still will have played this game really, really well. I think, we don't know who the cast for Survivor 50 or any other All-Star season is going to be, but I feel like both Joe and Kyle have a case already that they could come back and play again.
Yeah, the whole story of his sister and getting all that time on this episode, it feels like Joe has the winners at it. Like he's winning the show.
Yeah.
He's going to be very hard to beat, and he's going to have been hard to beat for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks now. Like they should have gotten rid of him when they had the chance, and they didn't. And they really are. And they've said this every episode where they're like,
Yeah.
Mitch is like, oh, we're just giving him $1 million. Mitch, you've been saying that every single week. Yes, you guys are giving him $1 million every week.
This is the only hard thing that Joe faces now. It's because of all of the praise that we have justifiably given Team Guyana within this episode,
Yes.
especially Kyle, because they have this little carrot that they can throw in front of the jury now. If you're Joe, you got to find a way to get rid of both of them before the final three, and you don't know why you should get rid of them before then, but it's like Joe's best chance of winning now is going to the final three with Eva and Mitch,
Yes, bring Mitch to the end.
Make a move, Mitch. This is Mitch's new.
Make a move, Mitch.
This Mitch for weeks now has said that he's ready. He's getting ready to make a move. He's getting ready now. He's really ready to make a move. Mitch, you are the survivor who cried wolf at this point. I mean, congratulations. You were actually a part of the move. I will give you some credit, but this is not your move, Mitch. You did not have that much directly to do with this, and that's why. I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on Mitch because it seems like he's a nice enough guy, but he's just did this whole thing in this episode where he's talking about how the game didn't work out the way in which he thought it would and how he's surprised by the course. It's like, whose fault is this, Mitch? Who is to blame? Mitch, who had major trust issues with other people who you could have made a Mitch with, you could have made a move with, and now you're just sitting around being like, what's happened? How did I get here? You built the road that you then drove down to get to this point in the game.
No, it's absolutely true. Mitch did build this road, and then he drove down this road and was like, how did I get here?
No.
Like, I hope that he then, after all of this, is now watching it back and being like, oh, I could have made my move here or here or here.
Yeah.
And maybe has some, regrets about not making those moves. But, we'll see.
Mitch is the one person, once again, sounds like I'm hating on Mitch, but Mitch is the only person to me who I think has zero chance of winning the game at this point.
He's not winning the game.
No, I think Camilla, she gets rid of Kyle. Camilla's going to have a chance. Yeah, Eva has a great story. If Joe's not there at the end, she might have a chance. We've already outlined the cases for both Joe and Kyle.
Yes.
And now, Jeff, it is time to have another conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. You do not get more than one of these like interstitial advertisements per episode. You don't get to give us a vote for season 50, which we're going to get into in a minute here. But then also let me pitch this game that you can play. You can play.
I heard it's really good.
Okay, well, good for them. This one's really good. I feel like there have been like 200 of these that you have released over the years. I remember when I was a teenager, like wandering through Target, I was seeing like some Survivor computer game or something at this point. So it's like, you could have played that from the couch too, Jeff. Why are you sitting here acting like you have created the biggest new invention to just like completely drop the jaws of everyone in mankind?
Yep.
Okay, now, Jeff, we're going to talk about this vote here. Idols or no idols. Why, again, are you trusting these people to make this decision? These are the same Survivor fans who did not vote Shane Powers into Second Chance. Don't trust these people. We're not to be trusted. I'm actually going to give a take here, though, that people are going to be mad at.
Oh, I have my hard hat on then. Let's go.
I think you do need to have idols in season 50.
And I agree. I'm taking my hard hat off.
Oh, look at that. Look at us. Team us. Okay. Yeah. There are a lot of people who are very old school and very much like, I want to see the game without all these idols or whatever else. Like, I understand that Russell Hantz created the idol. It was never there before I was. Okay, yeah, that's not true, Russell. But he did put idols into overdrive, and there was a period of time where they were way too omnipresent in the game, and it did kind of ruin a lot of gameplay. But these past couple of seasons, they've been a lot less. Eva's had that idol for most of the season, and it's been kind of boring because of that, but a lot more could have theoretically happened. I am fine with having some idols within the game as long as it's not a million of them combined with other advantages and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, I can't remember what season it was. It was a few seasons ago where there was like a million advantages. There was
Yeah.
like 10 idols. Like it's too much. If it's like this where, hopefully we have players that are willing to flush it out. But if you
Yeah.
have like one or two idols and you have players that aren't like, "Oh, I'm okay with Eva having an idol for 10 weeks. We're just not going to do anything about it." If Say was in the game,
Yeah.
that idol would have been flushed out and it would have been like ping-ponging all over the place and it would have been a lot more exciting.
Yeah, there's just too many iconic like moves of Survivor in like the past 20 seasons that have had idols be a part of it. And so I'm just like, go ahead, give us idols. I do not care about people voting for things on season 50. It's just like, Jeff, this is your job. This is not my job. I am not the showrunner of this show. None of us out here are. I wish they had more confidence in themselves moving into this season because we're already not voting on the cast anyway. So it's just like, why does any of this other stuff even matter?
Yeah, they just want everybody to feel like they have a say.
Great. Speaking of Say, we still miss Say.
I
in this
know,
show.
say all day.
Okay, all right. Well, that's where we are coming out of Survivor 48, episode 12. Who are you guys rooting for at this point?
Kyle.
Okay, Joe. Okay, listen.
No, Joe.
I really like both of these guys. I'm
Yeah.
rooting for Joe, but I would really be happy if Kaya wins because it feels like he's honestly deserved it.
Yeah.
But let us know your favorites in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We're covering there exclusively Criminal Minds, Evolution, and then also Murderbot. Thank you so much. We'll see you here next time.